The first day I met him was in California, and he had flown out from California, and I was giving a talk. And that evening, a group of people had him at their home. And they had attended my lecture that day in Santa Monica. And then that evening, I was to meet Guruji after. He had sent me this tape, and I had agreed to do it, but it had all been done through the mail. And I was now going to meet this person who had taught me this manifesting thing, who was having needle-nose pliers showing up in my driveway, and my friends getting rich in Las Vegas, and I haven't even gone into so many of the other manifestations that began to show up, including K.O. Barra and all of these things. All of these were a result of this sort of new attitude. And I went to his home that evening, and he was in another room. And there were about 60 people there who were going to listen to him speak that evening, and then I was going to speak afterwards, and we were going to speak together. But he had asked to have a private audience with me. And they ushered me into this room, and I walked in, and I felt that energy again, that real, peaceful, loving. It's like having a warm shower running inside of you. They call it the Kundalini, this energy that just seems to flow up and down your spine, that really good feeling you get, like they call it getting goosebumps or whatever, that real peaceful, loving kind of feel. And it's coming from something other than just the physical environment, that there is an energy in there. And he looked at me, and we sat down, and we were sitting facing each other on a couple of comfortable chairs. He had this long, flowing gray beard, and we didn't speak. Now, this is without exaggeration. We didn't speak for 1 hour. We just sat in the room, and neither one of us spoke to each other for 1 hour. We just looked at each other, without blinking, just in each other's eyes. And after about an hour had passed, I noticed a tear coming down his eye, out of his eye rather, and down his face. And the same thing happened to me simultaneously. And that was our meeting, and that was our communication. And then we spoke to each other. The first thing he said to me was, "Do you have any questions about what you are doing?" And I said, "They've all been answered." And that was the extent of our conversation. I knew what I was there for. I was sent, he was sent to me, and his background of where he has come from in India and all of the teachings that he has had, my background of where I come from and growing up in the Midwest of the United States, and all of my experiences had led us both to this place. And I knew that I was to go out and to teach this manifesting meditation, which he had encouraged me to do. And I dedicated the book to him by just saying, thanking you for encouraging me to examine this area of manifestation from a different perspective. From the perspective of having walked down a new street. One that didn't keep me back there in those old habits. Those old habits of pushing and demanding and insisting. When you have this patience, this infinite patience, and when you're able to detach from the outcome and just let go. Remember, it was one of the things that Maslow had said to me about the characteristics or qualities of self-actualizing people, is that they detach themselves from outcome. They are no longer concerned, as it says in the Bhagavad Gita, they are no longer concerned with the fruits of their labors. You know you're on purpose. You trust in your connection to this divineness. You know you are not separate from it any longer. And so this ego part of you that is so insistent upon doing things now and doing things right and making yourself better and proving how great you... All of that, while you don't lose it entirely, you tame it sufficiently to allow this sacred part of you. And people ask me over and over again, well, how do you do this? You know, How do you make it happen? I remember reading in Vivekananda, who was another great saint who came over here to the West in the early part of this century, like 1905 or so. And someone asked him that question. He said, in the springtime, go out and look at the blossoms on the fruit trees. This is how you do it, just like they do. He said, the blossom vanishes of itself as the fruit grows. So too will the lower self vanish as the divine grows within you. It's not really a matter of beating anything down or conquering anything. It's allowing the divine to grow within you. And it's like thinking of yourself as a container that will only hold so much as a physical being. And if it's filled with fear and anxiety and stress and tension and all of this kind of stuff, then there's no room left in it for love and peace and detachment. If you just understand that the blossom vanishes of itself as the fruit grows, and that the lower part of you, the part of you that's ego-based, will vanish as the divine grows within you. As you practice these principles, you fill up this container with this, and it pushes that other stuff out. There's no more room for it. It just overflows and goes out. And as that happens, as you see in that metaphor, then the container that is you becomes filled with patience. And that patience is based on knowing. That knowing is based on trust. And you see how powerful this is. You've got to do this privately, without any attention on whether other people like it or don't like it. What I have found in my own life and in my own practice is that I do this in many areas of my life that are much more practical than what I've been talking about. I do it in business negotiations. I do it in the running of my professional life. What I do professionally and who I am at home and the father that I am and the husband that I am and the teacher that I am and all of this are one. And I practice these principles with my children every day. And I practice them in my relationship with my wife. And I practice them in the relationship that I have with people that I work with and who ask me to do things. I use these principles. I affirm what it is. I stay on purpose. I know what it is that I would like to see manifested. And then I retreat in peace. And I'm detached from the outcome.